Productions.
Now, we are pounding that area. We're pounding it, like really pounding it hard. They took a pounding from Rick. It's like this guy right over here, Anthony. He knows what it is to pound people. Right, Ike? Anthony knows. You've pounded them to hell, and you can just leave now. I don't know if they're ready yet. They're taking a pounding. Today is a big day where we're pounding a certain area that has very much to do with the straight.
We're taking a pounding. It has something to do with the straight, but that's not Pride Month. That is not it at all. We're going to talk about Dave Rubin, right? Is he taking it straight? Jack Posobiec. Look, I thought we should talk about this. Of the deadly sins, pride is known as hubris, and it is known as, or futility. It is also considered the original and worst of the deadly sins, the most demonic on almost every list. Pride is also thought to be the source of other capital sins. Pride is viewed as the opposite of humility. C.S. Lewis wrote in Mere Christianity that pride is the anti-God state, the position in which the ego and the self are directly opposed to God. Unchastity, anger, greed, drunkenness, and all that are mere flea bites in comparison. It was through pride that Lucifer became wicked. Pride leads to every other vice. It is complete anti-God state of mind. Pride is understood to sever the human spirit from God, as well as from the life and grace given by God's presence. It's Pride Month. It is literally one of the deadly sin months, and we're going to talk about some of the biggest losers in that situation. Who am I talking about? Well, Dave. It's right up here on the title. Dave Rubin, Jack Posobiec. We'll get to what is Jack gay? No, but we'll talk about that.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you. You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is...
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Evening, boys. Hope everyone's doing fine. Let's take a look here. We've got Happy Road Cyclist. Evening, boys. Says Eddie. Welcome, everybody. I know there's been a little lapse in some of the shows. I love doing the shows. I don't love the prep that takes to do some of these shows. And I was even thinking last night, I was doing a bike ride, getting back out there, for Pride Month. And I was listening to some different podcasts, and I was trying to think of some things to do. And it just kind of hit me. We're going to talk about some of the hubris, because that's what it goes in here with Jack Posobiec. Okay, he's gone on back and forth. You look on Twitter, it's like #1 story was Dave Smith, Jack Posobiec, trending on Twitter. But what's interesting is I got in the mixer. I got a little tweet at Jack. First of all, he's blocked me, so that's a point of privilege. Why? Because I continually bring up this binder issue, right? He was part of phase 1, and we're going to kind of break down that again. So Posobiec, you could just admit you were wrong. And, Dave's like, are you out of your mind? You posted massive. This has to do with a bunch of these right-wingers claiming victory in this war that's never ending, and that they keep claiming it is because Trump tells them it is, and so they just buy it hook, line, and sinker, and it's embarrassing. So Jack goes on this, and so then I go, Dave, he is out of his mind, and he's never wrong. You post this, and it's like, 14,000 views or something like that on there. So, but he's blocked me because every time he puts something up, I just reference. I said, oh, it's probably in the binders, and I do this picture. And there's a reason for it. Why? Because I haven't heard any of these losers that got these binders coming out and apologizing for it. Now, granted, they probably don't know how to apologize correctly for this either. Kikuing. They probably don't know how to apologize for it correctly. And what I mean by that is why they got called into the Oval Office in the first place. Okay, and we're gonna play I referenced this interview, and I think I played it back at the time. We're gonna play the whole thing. It's like 15 minutes of it. It's Liz Wheeler on Glenn Beck, and it's gonna be talking about the reasons that they came in there and what they were put subject. And she's all crying and whining about it now. Okay. But you've got to remember back, this happened, you know, Tim Pool, that he got, authorized to be, you know, in the White House, and there's a bunch of right-wingers because they're tired of the left, okay, these unqualified people being in the White House. So this is the alternative media. But what do you want from your media? Is it just it's propaganda that's just from a different side? Some of you do. I imagine, you know, speaking of which, just kidding. Whenever it ends, it will be a victory. Victory is whatever we say it is. Because victory, I want it to end, and I'm just tired of the slop, right? And it has to do with exactly what we're talking about here with this binder, which is you can make mistakes. I think, to me, this is what's giving Tucker, in my mind, some credibility, which is the ability to say, I've been wrong. I've gone down this path. I was fooled or whatever. You know, I've gone down that too. I've said that. I don't know if that gives me more credibility or that I was fooled before. But, you know, you've got to say, yeah, I took it. I totally was in on this. I've told this before. My friend Jonathan, who's come on this show, I think once or twice, and I'm trying to get him back on here again. He's a little bit more of a lefty. I've had arguments in the past where he was saying some things about Jimmy Carter as an example. And I'm like, I don't know why he's an anti-Semite. Read his book. Now, I had not read his book at the time. I had been told about it, and I've since gone through it, and he's not even very harsh, okay? But there are some things he said about, you know, the Israel-Palestine issue. And so it's easy to just, I took the slop in from the Salem Radio Network boys that I was listening to at the time, because that's what you do, you know? I had no idea that they were more loyal to a different country, but there you go. So, whatever. So here we're going to talk about this. So, first of all, is there some pushback on Trump with this thing? Evidently, Axios is reporting this now, and I don't know ever how much to believe any of this. What he's going to be tough on, and if this is true, and he's, you know, they're trying to rein them in, as Thomas Massey says, I think it shows that Netanyahu had a lot of power to get him into this war too. President Trump lashed out at Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over Israel's escalation in Lebanon in an expletive-laden call on Monday. 2 U.S. officials and a third source briefed on the call told Axios. So leaks? Is it leaks? Is that what we're worried about again now? Right? Worried about leaks. Why it matters. Earlier on Monday, Iran threatened to abandon the negotiations of the U.S. over Israel's actions in Lebanon. On the call, Trump called Netanyahu crazy and accused him of ingratitude, according to 2 of the sources. He also put the brakes on Israel's plan to strike Beirut. Behind the scenes, one U.S. official said Trump told Netanyahu that following through on his threats to bomb the Lebanese capital would further isolate Israel around the world. 2 of the sources said Trump claimed he'd helped Netanyahu out of jail, a reference of his support during Netanyahu's corruption trial. I think that's being pushed off. It hasn't finished. Summarizing Trump's remarks to Netanyahu, the official said, "You're fucking crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." A second source, well, okay, then let's not call them our greatest ally and that we're going on, you know, we're bosom buddies. That might not be good for U.S. A source briefed on the call said Trump was pissed and at one point yelled at Netanyahu, "What the fuck are you doing?" Okay, driving the news. The U.S. official said Trump knew Hezbollah had been shooting at Israel and that Israel needed to defend itself, but felt in recent days that Netanyahu was escalating in a disproportionate way. In addition to threats in Beirut, Israel has been expanding its ground operation in southern Lebanon. Another U.S. official said Trump was concerned by the fact that Israel had killed so many civilians in Lebanon. Really? And objected to the Israelis knocking down buildings to take out a single Hezbollah commander. State of play. This is the way the Axios does all this, by the way. Israel no longer plans to strike Hezbollah targets in Beirut, an Israeli official told Axios between the lines. Trump and Netanyahu had had several tense calls in the past, but have still coordinated closely on Iran and other issues. One official said it was one of Trump's worst calls with Netanyahu since he returned to office. Trump's anger appeared to be driven by the fact that Netanyahu's decision to escalate into Lebanon was threatening to implode his negotiations with Iran. After the call, Trump posted on Truth Social that the Iran talks were continuing at a rapid pace. And I mean, if you believe that, I don't know. On the other side, Netanyahu released a statement after the call saying he had told Trump that Israel would attack targets in Beirut if Hezbollah did not stop attacking Israel. And that in the meantime, Israel would continue its operations in southern Lebanon. Our position remains the same, Netanyahu wrote. The second U.S. official claimed that, in reality, Trump had steamrolled Netanyahu on the call. Bibi said, okay, just make sure everything is taken care of. What does that mean? The official, according to the official. And then I'm interjecting, what does that mean? Everything is taken care of. Netanyahu's office did not respond for a request for comment. What to watch? The memorandum, the U.S. and Iran are negotiating calls for an end to the fighting in Lebanon, sources tell Axios. That was the source of the previous tense call between Netanyahu and Trump, or Trump and Netanyahu, as it states there. So yeah, there you go. You're fucking crazy. Okay, let's go to just some context there for everybody. Take that into account. Now, we're going to check this out here. This is an interview, and let me expand this out correctly. Oh, you know what? This is the browser. Go to the YouTube side. There we go. This is an interview back in 2/28/2025, and to start with what.
Okay, so hello, Stu. How are you?
Glenn, how are you?
Good. We have Liz Wheeler on with us in about 25 minutes. Liz is getting hammered from everybody. And I just want to stand up for my good friend Liz, who was invited to the White House. She didn't know why she was going. She had just come out on her show and in this show and on X and everything else, disagreeing with the president on IVF. So she knew she was going to meet at the White House, I think, with J.D. Vance. But when the White House calls and says the vice president or the president would like to meet with you, you just go, okay. You don't say, I don't know. You say, okay. Why does he want to talk to me?
Do you? Do you? I mean, Trump wants you there to curb favor. So, this is, you can say no. You don't have to have access. Jim says, where does the article rank amongst Trump saying he'll do whatever I want him to do in regards to Bibi, or they don't know what the F they're doing, or a few other occurrences of Trump for Bibi? I don't know. I don't know where it is in there. I don't even know what I believe, because Axios has been kind of shitty on some of this anyway. So this is a story that's out there. Do I even believe it? I don't know. I swear to God, I think it's not true, or it's part of what took place, and the leak is out there to try to carve the narrative that Trump's being tough on Bibi. Look at it, we're taking charge, and you're just kind of like, I don't know, is that the case? Maybe. Okay, let's keep going here.
You just say okay. I say this from experience. I remember right around. Well, it was 2004, 5, 6, somewhere in that area. And I was on CNN, and I was ranting about how poorly the war was going and how poorly George Bush was handling things. And I said, George, wake up, dude. And I get off the air. I'm in my car. I'm driving home, and my phone rings. And, Mr. Beck, yes, this is so-and-so from the White House. The president would like to see you in the Oval tomorrow morning. I didn't know what to do. I said, hang on, let me check. I didn't have a calendar or anything. I was such in shock. I put the phone away from my face, kind of looked at it, and then went, okay, what time? That works for me. You just go. That's what happened with Liz.
Okay. Well, do I believe that or not? I don't know. But here we go. Here's Liz Wheeler coming on with Glenn.
I want, Liz, you have the time that you need to tell this story, and I'm not going to interrupt you. But tell us exactly what happened, because you were there in the Oval Office yesterday.
I was, and thank you for having me this morning, Glenn.
people are very mad about what happened yesterday, and honestly, I don't blame them for being mad.
Right.
I am also very mad about what happened yesterday, because we all expected to get the dirtiest dirt that we have ever gotten, the corruption of the government, the Epstein files. We were promised this, we expected this, and we didn't get it.
Hang on just
and
a
when we
second.
didn't get it.
Hang on just a sec before. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. But you have another reason, because you were at the White House, but you didn't know that's what you were asked to be there for. So you are carrying. You looks like you're carrying water for the White House when you were just there, and they call you in and say, "Oh, here's the deal." Correct? I feel like if it's
Somewhat,
nefarious, you've kind of been used.
Well, let me get to that, because I think when I tell the narrative story, it will make clear we weren't actually at the White House for that purpose. The Epstein files is not why we were called in. We were called in to be given access to the most powerful people running our country. We met with almost every cabinet secretary, with the vice president, with the president himself.
Okay. Well, okay. Access to more powerful people. Now, that's perfectly fine, but are you there because you think it's and I'm just taking this in the, if this was a bunch of, Cenk Uyghurs or Hassan Piker, I don't know, those are the only two, the lefties with Biden, right? Would you be going like, oh, these are people going to be cracking down in the news? No, they're a bunch of propaganda. You bring them in there, you give them, favor them up. I mean, DC Drano, all these people. What would be fascinating is, did anybody turn on the Trump administration for being used like this? Because she's coming out kind of like angry about it.
With all of the staff, we were given access as new media figures to replace the legacy media who has lied to us and demeaned us for all of these years. They are no longer going to be rewarded for doing that. So we were given the access to these people. But again,
there you go. Let's back that up here, because she's given the reason that they're going in. It's not even for, hey, we're content creators and we want you to, we'll give you $7K in shekels, and then you kind of toe our line. It's why
we met with almost every cabinet secretary, with the vice president, with the president himself, with all of the staff. We were given access as new media figures to replace the legacy media who has lied to us. And
there you go. New media figures who have lied to us. Perfectly fine. Then show that you won't be coerced. Okay. That's what we're looking for at this point. So you're not going in there as content creators. You're going in there as new media to take over the legacy, and let's see if you can do that.
And demeaned us for all of these years. They are no longer going to be rewarded for doing that. So we were given the access to these people. But again, let me tell the narrative, because I want to make sure that everyone knows what happened, because people are angry, and rightfully so, because they felt like they were subject to a bait and switch, which was not the intention, I think, on anyone's part, certainly not on my part. So we were invited to the White House, and we were in meetings with all of these different cabinet officials, and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, comes into the room with Kash Patel, the FBI director, and they talk to us about what they've been doing. They give us some glimpses of what's happening behind the scenes. And Pam Bondi then brings a stack of these white binders, these infamous white binders that they Epstein filed phase 1 on them. And when we saw these binders, of course, all of our jaws dropped, and we had the same assumption that this was going to be the juicy stuff. This was what we've been waiting for. And almost immediately, Pam Bondi says, wait a second, this is not juicy. You're not going to find in these binders what you think you're going to find in these binders. Let me explain.
Okay. So remember, they didn't take pictures and then get told. They were being told what the situation is, and then they all took pictures. They all took pictures with these binders. I have the snapshot of Liz Wheeler standing out in front of the White House. So that's a conscious decision. And so would a legacy media that's lied to you, would they do that? Maybe. I almost think that they would have more credibility or gumption, in a sense, to not do that. I think even for Biden, I don't think you're going to see a Jake Tapper holding up a binder. I could be wrong. This is all projection on my part, right? Or supposition. But embarrassing. Let's keep going.
And immediately she holds up that letter. I posted that letter on my X account. It was widely reported yesterday, and says, this binder is filled with 200 pages of Epstein files that was given to me by the FBI when I made the request, upon the request of the president, because he was fulfilling his promise, to declassify and release the Epstein files. I asked the FBI, give me the files. They brought me these 200 pages, put them on the desk, and assured me that this was all the files that they had. And Pam Bondi relates to us. She's like, it seemed weird. I smelled a rat because this is all the files. This is all we have. And she's like, and I repeatedly made requests to verify, are you sure this is all the files? And I was assured that this was all the files. And she's like, you will find in this binder that it's a nothing burger, that we have most of this information already declassified and redacted. I do believe there's a few things in there that hadn't, but it's nothing salacious. It's just a contact list of phone numbers. It's nothing. And flight logs, stuff we already have. And she said, the scandal is that last night, after it was clear that I was going to release these documents, I got contacted by a whistleblower from within the SDNY, which of course is part of the Department of Justice, part of the FBI. And this whistleblower told me that the SDNY was hiding potentially thousands of more documents about Epstein because they did not want her to release it.
Okay, so we're all hearing this is blowing my mind, right? That she's saying this as if this was told to her after the binder was given. This is she's relaying the story. This is they're not going to have anything in here. Okay, first of all, we can talk about Pam Bondi, what a piece of shit she is, and our buddy, especially after they got released and there's millions of pages, and she said only 200. I mean, they're just so full of it. They are so full of shit. I can't believe we're even. Why are we talking about this in Pride Month? Well, we're talking about it because someone out there doesn't know how to. What? Where did it go here? This guy. They're not making. I would put it on my head, my masthead. I was duped by Trump, and I'm not going to keep falling for this. So then he goes after people like Dave. And pride, as we discussed in the beginning, is hubris. Okay, now he's too prideful to admit that he was used and that he was wrong to suck the cock of Trump in this case, because it really comes down from him. I think this is all kind of like a way to protect the president. And I think, as we can see, he can shoot. Like he said, I can shoot someone on 6th Avenue, and they're still gonna. Yes, you can. You can side with a foreign government, and your followers are still gonna be there. So you know what you can do? You can probably be in the Epstein files, and no one's really gonna give a shit. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there. Okay, so let's keep going here with Liz.
Okay.
Now, this, of course, if true, is the scandal of the century.
Yes.
That there are deep state agents, swamp creatures in the.
It's always someone else's fault, right? So Pam Bondi gets lied to and then projects it onto these people and then fucks them over and embarrasses them. And now this Liz is not upset at Pam. She's upset at the deep state. And I'm curious if Liz Wheeler, DC Drano, Libs of TikTok, Cernovich, all these guys, if they've come out and had any problems with Trump since then, right? Or if they just was like, no, I'm still on board. What has he ever done to me that I shouldn't be on board with this guy? I'm like, well, I don't know. You're on a show right now, bitching and complaining about how you're used.
Swamp in the FBI, in the SDNY, that are defying the president of the United States, defying the attorney general, defying. This is
hilarious in hindsight, right? Which is define the president. Oh, well, you mean the one that didn't want these files to end up being released? That the Massey had to go and have basically a law that says you have to release them, right? That there's nothing in there. That guy that they're defying. And then he decided to put his, $30 million of Israeli money to get Massey out of there. I think because of the Epstein. That was the big thing. So yeah, you go, Liz.
The director of the FBI. That is breathtaking.
You're not shocked.
I mean, I'm at a loss for words in how breathtaking this is to see the swamp. Now, you and I know, Glenn, everyone with us today knows that just because you cut off the head of the snake, just because you replace the top political appointees at an agency, it doesn't remove immediately all of those who would wish to subvert the will of the president. That takes time.
Yep.
And so the fact that we have concrete evidence in the form of this tangible binder that they gave this to Pam Bondi and told her, this is it, this is the smoking gun, when it is a nothing burger, that is a huge story. The entire SDNY should be fired. This place should be absolutely.
But why would she, if this is all told, why were you holding this binder up like it was Loch Ness Monster that you just found?
Raised.
I agree.
So put a pin in that for a second. That's what happened in the secure briefing room at the White House. We met with we went into the Oval Office. We talked to President Trump. We talked to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. We talked to HHS Secretary RFK Jr. And then, of course, we weren't allowed to have our phones on us during this time in the West Wing. They were in a secure box downstairs. We were told that, we needed to leave this secure briefing room because the UK Prime Minister was coming and they were going to take us out the back of the White House and downstairs to get our phones. We were, of course, really excited because we had just gotten a coin from the president personally. And, he was showing us the portraits in the Oval Office. I mean, it's a surreal experience to visit this central place of.
I just have to keep reiterating. They were there to replace legacy media, right? No, these are fangirls. All of them are fangirls. Posobiec included. Not fanboys, fangirls, okay? This is teenagers seeing the Beatles on the Tonight Show or whatever it was, Ed Sullivan.
Power, and we were really honored to have been there, as I think anyone would be. So we go out back, excited to get our phones, because as soon as we get these phones, we're going to dive into these binders. We know that there's nothing really in them, but we have this letter, this huge story to break that previously would have been given to the legacy media, but it was given to us about the SDNY. But as we're going out the back door, we're rushed a little bit by White House staff, and I personally found this funny because I'm a history nerd. We're told, hurry, the British are coming,
Right.
because we needed to be out of the way of the hallway for the UK Prime Minister. Now, being the political nerd.
She's a history buff because the British are coming. What, she thinks she's Paul Revere?
That we all thought that was really funny. When's the last time someone shouted the British are coming in the White House? But once we get outside, we see that there's a gaggle of press, essentially in the bushes to the side of the White House. And the looks on their faces, so sour, so dour, so astonished to see us, because it wasn't a publicly announced meeting per se. And they were kind of like, what the heck are you guys doing here? And so we were, again, giddy from having been in the Oval Office, having just come out of a meeting with RFK where he was telling us some remarkable things he's working on, and they were curious about what we were holding. Now, this is a very important part of the story. We had not been told up to that point that there was any sort of embargo on this information. It was our impression at that moment that within about 2 minutes, we would be able to break the story of the SDNY stonewalling Pam Bondi. And so when the media was so sour and bitter that we had gotten this binder, yes, we were kind of laughing at them. We were holding up the binders in defiance, saying, you know what? You've been relegated to the bushes because you lie and you smear.
See, this is why she deserves it all. You're not there to be media in her mind, right? She's there. Remember, it's alternate media. But your thing there is to hold it up in defiance and to mock the other media because you are more important than the story. Let's be absolutely clear. This propaganda machine is what's important to this.
And you gaslight the American people, and we are the media now. And that was the background of.
How do you feel now? Do you feel good that these clapping seals are now the media? It's all the same, people. This is why you watch this, right? So that you can go through and mock these people with an open mind.
That picture. Now, within about 2 minutes of that picture being taken, we were told, please don't report on the binder itself or the story about the SDNY until 3:30 in the afternoon, because they didn't want the press conference between Donald Trump and the UK Prime Minister to be solely focused on the SDNY Epstein file.
If you found out that Jake Tapper was in the White House and he came out and this is happening, and then he was told not to talk about it, I mean, I think these people would be mocking him. He's not a true. What? You're being embargoed. You're not going to embargo me. I'm going to say what I want to say when I want to say it. I didn't sign up. You didn't sign anything that I have to not say this. But but when you're in their jock, you don't really have a choice.
Story. So all of a sudden, we are in this situation where the press has gotten photos of us with these binders that appear to be real Epstein files, and yet we knew that they were not. And we begged for the embargo to be lifted. The process of that embargo being lifted was frankly botched up. That should have been, it was an error on the part of the White House not to allow us to go ahead and do that. We, of course, were being respectful of that embargo because we were just given an exclusive story. But what happened then is pictures of us holding the binders were the only things that we were allowed to post at that moment. But we thought we'd be able, within about 5 minutes of those posts, just getting people's attention, to tell what the real story is.
Right. Why would you post that? All of this, it's hilarious.
And yet the embargo wasn't lifted. And so it created this situation. And I cannot even tell you how frantic I felt in this situation, Glenn, because it appears to be a bait and switch. And my goodness, that's the last thing that was ever intended. I was frantic behind the scenes telling the White House, you have to let me tell this story. You have to let me release this.
How about you just go and, I can't even do anymore. How about you just go and do it, right? You have to let me be a reporter. I'm not going to be duped. Okay, I don't feel sorry at all for it. But you know what? That goes to this, right? So we have this whole issue with Dave, and I think I'm going to go through here and kind of read some of these posts because I think it's important to kind of get the point of here. Jack Posobiec, first of all, Scoop. U.S. and Iran, and these posts are still up. this is what's fascinating about this kind of stuff, which is like, I've made mistakes and I'm like, delete. I don't want to, or you post after and say, I fucked up, right? But no, you have a community note and everything. This guy goes, scoop, U.S. and Iran reach a deal. This is May 28th, but need Trump's final approval. 2 U.S. officials and regional source involved in mediation efforts told me my story on Axios. This is a massive win for President Trump. Okay, that's what he says. And then Dave Smith, Trump confirms talk with Iran and still continuing. And then Trump, he posts, this is Posobiec, and then Trump's tweet here, said, or truth or whatever it is. Talks are continued at a rapid pace with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Because, you know, you have to sign your own, nothing is more boomer than that. And then Dave said, I was reliably told by you way back 4 days ago that a deal was done and that it was a massive win for Trump. Now the best you have is, he says talks are still happening. It's unbelievable how the supporters of Trump's idiot war continue to get everything wrong. And then he goes, where did I say the deal was done and signed off by Trump? And then Dave's like, here, this is a massive win. I guess I inferred that the deal had been done with a massive win for Trump to be confirming your deal was done. Massive leap, I know. You couldn't just admit you were wrong, and then that's where we have this last win. Are you out of your fucking mind? You posted massive win for Trump about a deal that doesn't fucking exist, and you have the nerve to demand others admit they're wrong. And that's where he's like, Dave, he's never wrong. Yes, he's never wrong. Okay, let's go here to some of this. You turned off, YouTube turned off notifications for your channel, even though I'm subbed. Anyway, what are you drinking tonight? Just water. I had some, I'm on a serious kick. I will drink once a week, specifically for my health, so that I could try to get my levels down, might lose some weight. I'm back on the bike. I always say this, but I'm trying to do it in a way that I'm not going to injure myself. So I really have to do this. Righteous Gemstone says Donald Trump commanded Bondi to do this per direct request of Bibi. Okay. And then Texas Flags and Luke Nisser. I also got no notifications tonight. Sorry about that, people. Sorry about that. Here's your, this is what you got to do. Thank you for the reminder. TylerYonke.substack.com. I go over there. I always post that we are going to have the show and the links for it. So if you're over there, they do notifications well, okay? I get them. I get them on my own when I post them up. So you're not going to miss a notification. Typically, I try to do that. Once again, you can watch this show on Rumble. 0 people are commenting on the Rumble chat. That's good. You can watch it on YouTube. I know it's where our most of our, and you guys can join and be members there. We're going to do a member show coming up, maybe even this week. And then obviously on X, and then Substack as well. Now, part of the reason that I wanted to talk about this Posobiec stuff here and these people, because the right isn't sending their best, okay? And it's very frustrating. Okay, this is the kind of person, we just heard Liz, they want to be news people. I mean, you know, there are people out there that are just part of the news and they just work. I mean, I think Libertarian Institute kind of has some of that. I mean, it's your libertarian bent. I don't mind that, but you just understand where you're coming from. Stop acting like these people, the Posobiecs, the Liz Wheelers and whatnot, think you're the new alternative media. Sometimes I prefer the opposite side grilling, like right now, Trump, okay? I don't want an easy time in there. And then I want the others. Maybe these people would actually grill Biden and whatnot if they were in the White House. I don't know. I mean, they just slob the knob here so much. It's tough to say. But with that in mind, I don't think the right has any formidable people coming out. And I talked about this, the Jubilee that we had, and I think I'm going to play one quick clip here from that. Where did it go? There we go. Let's start this clip here. This is from our boy, and this is perfect for Pride Month, right? Glenn Greenwald going at it with some of these other people. So let's
Jewish Americans have a vested interest in Israel. Okay, they're also
our ally.
What
do you mean? Why do they have that?
Well, a lot of some don't. Like you, right? You're Jewish. Yeah. So a lot of it's like so some do, some don't. Okay.
Right.
If some do, they can vote with their dollar. They're already our
so you're
allies.
Saying a lot of Jews have a vested interest in a foreign country?
Yes.
In how do they? President Trump said about Miriam Adelson, for example, who's a citizen of Israel and the United States, that he believes she has a greater loyalty to Israel. She would choose Israel when the two are in conflict. Would that be your choice as well?
And that's a problem. And I've heard other people say they have different they care more about other countries they're born in as well.
Right,
so,
but it's
like,
kind of a problem that the single richest and most powerful
we can put in legislation
Israeli
to
American
stop that.
is somebody who's in the White House all the time. According to President Trump, has more loyalty to a foreign country than she does to the United States.
So
that's
kick
a pretty
her out.
gigantic problem.
So what?
Kick her out. President Trump has her in the White House every other week because of the
well,
mass
she's
amount
not doing
of money
anything illegal. So what's the problem? You have a problem with the motivation.
A lot of things
so
aren't
we can't
illegal
just
that you can
police
still
everybody's
criticize.
motivations.
There are a lot of things that aren't illegal that still should be criticized and dragged out into the sunlight.
So let's criticize
and the influence
it. But
of
this whole AIPAC is this nefarious grand puppet master thing is absolutely debunkable. Okay. AIPAC sometimes does not win. I mean, we saw with in 2015 the JCPOA situation.
I agree. They don't always get their way. They get their way almost all the time.
Now, this wasn't the real clip that I was really aiming for, but I just thought I'd throw it up there because Glenn Greenwald goes on the Jubilee, and the reason I'm saying this is because when I watched it, for me, it was all a bunch of neocon right-wingers surrounding him and having this argument, and they weren't bad. They were all what I think is propagandized, and they had their talking points. And you have to be somewhat smart if your argument. So look, there's logical arguments that you say this happens to this and this and this, and then it falls in a logical conclusion. Okay, it's like a checkbox type of thing. You have to be really, really smart to be able to not argue in a logical manner and still try to keep your shit around you, right? It's like someone that's lying. They have to keep their story straight. And I think that's what this is. It's like, well, what are we being told right now? And so Jim goes out here and, the question is, let me add this doc. I'm sorry. So Jim goes out here and basically asks the question, I don't get the issue with the Epstein binders at this point. People you don't like were made to look like idiots you already thought were, and Bondi got ousted. What's the issue? Well, I may say that they're idiots, right? And that she got ousted. But who are we still listening to? Well, who is still out there being able to propagate all this? Who's getting all this influence? It's still the same people. Okay, so if you think I can't point out their mistakes, when someone like Posobiec says you can't admit you when you're wrong, and so we're going to pull this whole thing, this is why, right? Because I think it's wise to understand where these. We've talked about this with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, right? They say such bullshit things before. And then they go into office and they say completely the opposite. And you're like, well, I need to understand, are these people even someone we can respect and go? Now, do I respect and whatnot? No, but there's a lot of people that do. Maybe you do, right? So I'm pointing these things out. It's good to understand the track records. And I think that what I said before is if you're wrong, because they can't, they act like, Posobiec blocks me because you post a picture of him with the binder thing. What has he said about that? Is he said this was a big mistake and now I can't trust Trump? Because that's part of it too, right? You want to just say it's no big deal. Well, you know what? According to Liz, this came down from the top. Now this is where you have to listen to these people, like what they're saying. She was upset about being used, but she's not upset about who used her. She's going to blame the deep state. That's fascinating. So it's important. But part of this thing, when I want to get back to with this Jubilee and these surrounded is these right-wing kids are smart. Okay. Like I said, you have to be smart to be able to follow along some of the logic that I think they're jumps that they're doing. And then you get Dave Rubin. Okay. He decides then to come on this same Jubilee thing and he's going to have arguments with kids. And this is what's frustrating. Okay. You got the Posobiecs, you've got the Liz Wheelers. They're no different than Dave Rubin, not a smart guy. He comes out there and he's going to defend a lot of these positions against lefties. And now you're in a position of, for me, to some extent, I agree with some of these lefties and their arguments with Dave. The problem is Dave isn't adequate. He's not prepared to make arguments back. Part of that reason is he's not skilled. 2, it's Pride Month. And and we could do
now we are pounding that area.
Yeah. So we're pounding that area. He's not skilled at this, but he's also an inbred. He's a lefty. Okay. He's a lefty through and through. He said, he doesn't know economics. He doesn't know a lot of these things. This is new to him. and it's just talking points of where he's getting dictated out through. So I think that's just, I think that's been problematic, and it's going to show because what? We're going to play a few clips here of Dave Rubin on this surrounded thing. And I would like to take, you know what? I would prefer someone that may disagree with me on the war and whatnot, but not go on there and be completely, because some of these people are economic idiots that bring things up and about Trump, and he can't defend it correctly because this isn't ingrained in him, right? He's not good. And so this is, I've talked about this not too long ago. Our buddy Clint goes on with Dory, Julian Dory, and he talks economics on there, and I was like, I loved it. Clint and I were texting, messaging back and forth, and I'm just like, I really appreciate you doing that. I know Dave's been trying to do a little bit more of that too, and I think that's important. You've got to delineate yourself when you have agreements on war with some people. It's fascinating too. Anna Kasparian goes on with Candace, and I don't know how Candace dealt with this one, but it was about, Anna's talking about the right wing being hypocritical because they're pro-life, but then they're pro, death and genocide or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but you're anti-genocide, but you're for, these aren't kids. They're kids, but not before they're kids, right? To her, they're just lumps of cell that you just waste away. So you know what? Maybe she's making changes to that, and Candace just kind of let her talk and didn't push back on that, because there are times you don't do. Okay, so let's play some of these clips. I got a bunch of them here, and I'm gonna want to jump in to see. But it's good to see where Dave's bad. And I haven't watched these. I just saw a few little clips, and then I've said, let's save them for the show.
I find it interesting that you think wokeism has done so much damage to America as opposed to Donald Trump. Wokeism did not kick 17 million Americans off of their health insurance through Medicaid. Wokeism didn't start a disastrous war with Iran that has now led to inflation outpacing wage growth. Wokeism hasn't...
But see, this is the problem. How does Dave actually combat this when his lifestyle is been perpetuated by being woke? Okay. And a lot of the stuff that he has now, it's about identity politics. So, and by the way, he's tried to have people silenced, right? And they're talking, and yet he wrote this burn after reading or something like it's supposed to be a free speech.
Ripped up institutions or attempted even to destroy free speech, even by your standards, because Ronald Reagan appointed judge ruled that the Trump administration was violating the First Amendment by attempting to deport, arrest, and detain students and faculty members on college campuses for protesting for Palestine. Wokeism, to me, it doesn't even have remotely as disastrous as a track record as Donald Trump.
Well, how would you define wokeism? I guess we should start with that.
I think wokeism is a pejorative term that's used to describe left-wing cultural politics.
Right, and what do you think left-wing cultural politics are?
I'd say left-wing cultural politics include just the broad attitudes towards social justice, especially for minority groups that have faced persecution in various ways.
Okay, so I think the simple...
This is not really that good because this kid just hammers him. I don't really get to even see what Dave Rubin says in return. Let's keep going on that.
Sure. So the IAEA and U.S. intelligence said that Iran did not enrich past the 3.67% prior to Donald Trump ripping up and stepping out of the Iran nuclear deal in I believe it was 2017, 2018.
So again,
when he did that.
in these negotiations,
because Donald Trump ripped up the Iran nuclear deal to begin with, that's the only reason why.
Let's try it a different way. I'll try it a different way.
The IAEA assessments agree with me, and Tulsi Gabbard, our director of national intelligence, testified in front of Congress last year, and according to the entire intelligence community, Iran did not have a nuclear weapons program.
Okay. That they didn't have a nuclear weapons program. They were enriching past the point that they were allowed to for civilian use. Everyone knows that.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
So the IAEA...
Okay, so there he goes. Another one. Let's keep going on with this young man and see what he has to say. Sorry, let me fix this up here, and then we'll take some comments. But you know what? We're just playing these clips here.
Start wars on countries whose politics we disagree with or who are oppressive to their own people. We were actually an ally to Saudi Arabia, and Mohammed bin Salman ripped up.
That I agree with. You don't do that.
Okay, we're also allies.
We got something. All right, we got something.
We're also
we got
allies
something
to
we
Israel
agree with.
that has committed gross human rights violations in Gaza.
I'm shocked that Israel came up. Israel, the only place that has any of the progressive values that any of you guys share.
Really? This is actually
perfect.
This is perfect because one of the things that you told me at the beginning of this conversation was that wokeism was judging people based on characteristics and collective thought. Israel is literally centered around the prioritization of the Jewish people as a matter of policy. That is literally collectivist thought. So you must hate Israel too. You must think that that's the ultimate form of collective identity, right?
Okay, so that's what I've been making arguments about this whole thing. Jim says the same person who brought Candace into the Republican Party also brought Rubin in, Prager. Yeah, the difference is, that was Prager. It was, I don't know if it was Prager that brought him in. Remember, he had an interview with the black white supremacist that ran for governor, Larry Elder of California, who really changed his mind when he talked about racial stuff. I mean, I was watching Rubin along those times, right? And it was interesting to see him being brought over. And you know, I think now his real problem, now looking back, was the Israel thing with Kasparian and Cenk and all that. But yeah, I don't want Candace out there either arguing on behalf of my points of view. And you know, I'm kind of right libertarian, right? So I don't know that she has it down either. I wouldn't say that. Now she's left, right? She's left that group. So maybe, you know, Prager, look, for what you want to say, Prager University had some good videos and whatnot, but there is a part, if you look back, like the John Podhoretz as an example, his father, you have a lot of these lefties that came to the right kind of in the William F. Buckley era in the 50s and 60s, okay? They were former hardcore lefties, some communists, and then they come over and they become part of the right wing. But, you know, are you shedding some of this skin of kind of what you've had in your DNA for this leftist stuff? You know, Dave, as an example, he's not at all principled because he just got schooled on this thing about Israel, about what wokeism, right? Now, I don't agree with this kid that woke is at all good, right? Identity politics and whatnot. But Dave's not able to do, part of it is because he's gay. He's a married gay man with rented children, and he's a Zionist Jew. So he's got all these identities that he will fight with you about if you push back, right? So, you know, it's difficult for him to then navigate this. It is probably similar to Blair, what's her name, trying to argue about trans stuff.
Right.
No,
that is the truth.
It's completely
Donald Trump
irrelevant.
tried to rewrite the Constitution via executive order with Executive Order 14160. And it was followed up by 141601, where they used this to target individuals for pro-Palestinian speech like Mahmoud Khalil. And this was already ruled upon, by the way.
All right.
I'm sure.
Okay, this is annoying, though, because this kid may be saying the truth here as a libertarian civil rights person. But then these people, they're snapping because you can't do that. You have to snap. Pretentious kids. This is the problem, right? The war aside, have someone out there who can make arguments, right? I mean, I bet, and he's done this, right? Michael Knowles would be doing better here because there's a lot of this stuff he doesn't have to bend around in principles. He can just say, this is what I believe because I'm pro-life or whatever. And,
you know about this, correct?
Yeah. Okay, first
but he tried to rewrite the Constitution via executive order. Can the president do that?
There is a difference.
Can the president do that?
Hold on.
Now this little cunt here, kid, you know, this pubic-headed worm on. I'm just saying these things out here. Did you have problems with any other executive order changing the Constitution from way back? You know, Biden, everybody else. I mean, I do. But I have problems with Trump doing it. I have problems with everybody doing it, right? It's just not the way it's supposed to be done. But everyone's doing it. And if you're not complaining about everybody, if you're just like, Trump is doing this, well, I would be saying, look, the president shouldn't be able to do any of that. But let's see what he says.
There is a difference between exercising free speech.
He's not answering.
There's a difference between exercising free speech and closing down a campus and not letting students get... You're an interesting character.
Yeah.
No, you seem nice. There's a difference between exercising free speech, which I will always defend your free speech, no matter how noxious it is.
The president
and
doesn't.
closing down
defending the
campuses.
president.
No, they weren't.
Yes.
No, Mahmoud
Yes.
Khalil and all of these masked
He was
Hamas
almost deported with
jihadis.
no cause, and it's literally in the documents of the case.
Well, first off, Marco Rubio has illustrated the point many, many times.
true.
If you're here on a green card or a student visa
They
or
cannot
anything
revoke
else,
it with no
you
cause.
don't have the exact same protections that you don't.
Congress shall make no law. What?
Okay, abridging free speech. However, there are exceptions and whatnot. So that kid's annoying, and I don't think he's just taking it from a lefty perspective. But then you have Dave Rubin, who can't help but do anything but take it from his
Trump.
Take it. Okay, let's keep going on with this one. I don't know what this one's about either, but we're all here enjoying this here. There's a free show, so let's go.
Negative deportation rate.
Let's do Biden.
And by the way, the Khalil thing, I did not get into that deep. So the schools can be restrictions on campus. Your speech is a little bit different because is it the proper forum for doing this and the venue? So you can have this kind. I think Trump perhaps overstepped in the State Department? Sure. I also think though that this is what was stupid about them is this is where they chose to go in there and then Minnesota rather than like how about the border where we actually need some help. Right, Minnesota and the Ivy League schools are where it's at, which shows the pretentiousness of the Trump administration and a lot of the right wing. Okay, you had this. What was the dude's name? It'll come to me. But anyway.
And Trump.
No,
Biden and Trump. Let's do the last two administrations.
Just answer the question, yes or no.
I am for anyone that will close borders and deport
I'll say
people.
no. I'll say no. That's
okay.
fine.
Okay.
So if there wasn't a crisis under Obama and there was a crisis under Biden, what happened in between those two administrations? Was there something that happened?
Wait, are you blaming Donald Trump for Joe Biden's border?
No, what I'm blaming Donald Trump for is when he's actually campaigning for president and he's going around and to any news organization that would let him speak and telling everyone that the border's open. They're wide open. Come on in, come on in. And he actually created something that wasn't there. So.
Okay, that's bullshit. But does Dave Rubin know enough to?
So, wait, you're blaming people coming to this country illegally. You're blaming Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who really only appeared because of borders, right? Build a wall.
There wasn't a border issue.
That's what
there
he
wasn't
appeared.
a border issue when he said that, right? But then when there
well,
was instability,
We've always had we've always had a completely porous border. That
we
is
had
that
a
is
negative
very
deportation rate under Obama.
Hold
he
on.
created the actual desire for people to come here because he told the lie that the borders was open.
Wait a minute.
Okay, I don't buy that contention that Trump created this thing. But yes, I think to this guy's point, I think Biden was much higher rates of deportation than Biden. Biden fucked a lot of it up. But you're not going to say that Trump's rhetoric that some Juan down there in Guatemala is like, oh, now we go. I don't know that. I don't know. I'm buying that one. Okay, now you got this other weasel. I'm just disappointed. The issues that I would agree on, he's not good on. The issues that I don't like Dave Rubin on, fine, go get murdered.
Do you think? Hold on. So you're arguing that things economically were better under Joe Biden
at the end of his administration. Absolutely.
Yeah. So can you give me an example of how?
Yeah, GDP growth was better off. Real median wage growth was better off. Inflation was better off at the end of his administration. Unemployment was better off at the end of his administration. We had the worst year of job growth in the past 4 years, just this last year under Trump's administration. The inflation 3.8% year over year since Trump got in office. We're seeing all of.
This is the problem with trying to do teams. It's like, well, my team, this under this head coach, this is what their batting percentage was. We had fielding percentage, slugging, the ERA, the bullpen did this and this and this, and then this coach comes in and it's like, okay. But what is their philosophy, right? Like the philosophy of all these coaches, let's say, was to lose, and so that the team would be maybe relocated. Okay. That's what I feel like here with the presidents, right? Are they really doing any of these things? Like Trump's not coming in and making policy changes that are helping us economically. The big, beautiful bill, just more spending and whatnot. So all these little parameters, as we know, they can be manipulated, they can be changed. But these two guys are going to argue about their two parties. So here we go.
Those economic indicators become worse off. Can you tell me anything that he's done to make it better off? You say it's broken for Democrats. It sounds like it's broken right now under Trump.
Have you looked at the stock market?
Oh, God. That's what we're going on. Well, it's over 50,000 now. So Pam Bondi, But didn't she say that we can't? The stock market is over 50,000. We don't need to worry about Epstein.
It's worse off in terms of growth in 2025 as compared to 2024. If you look at Dow Jones and S&P 500,
they're both up quite a bit right now,
but lower
doing
growth
quite
rate.
well. You know, things don't happen overnight. So Donald Trump.
First of all, you should probably. I mean, I'm not going to go in there and make these arguments because this is not my deal. You go argue there about family law, which I've studied a ton and I'm up on it. And the situations. You could read this, but I probably wouldn't say what you can bring up the stock market unless I knew the actual answers to some of these things. So it's a little bit risky for Dave Rubin.
For example, things don't. That's true. That's true. There's reality. There's actual reality. Like you put policies into place and they don't just kick in the next day, right? Do you?
Okay, there we go. Let's keep rolling along here. We've got just a few more exciting little clips here.
Is negotiating with these other countries. You think that
I think the negotiations are worse off with the JCPOA. We have less political concessions right now than we had a decade ago under the JCPOA. So tell me, what political concessions have we got with the war with Iran since Trump started it?
Well, right now, Iran literally exports no oil. Every day they are losing $500 million. So what you can do over time is you have a military adventure, which we had 40 days, which we took out.
With this fact check on the side is brutal. Iran is not exporting no oil. It is not losing 500 million a day. Recent tanker tracking data cited by the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and others show Iran exporting roughly 1.5 to 2 million barrels a day and earning around $100 to $150 million of oil revenue per day.
Out their Air Force and their entire Navy and everything else, and now we completely control their economy. None of those were concerned.
What's the political concession since the beginning of the war?
What's the political concession from Iran since the beginning of the war?
Yes, name one.
Well, we're having negotiations with them right now.
And we haven't gotten anything?
We're having negotiations with them right now.
So nothing?
Well, we're in a negotiation process.
We've been in a war for 2.5 months now. We got no political concessions.
A war for 2.5 months? How long do you think wars are supposed to take?
A decade ago, we had a limitation.
Is negotiation.
Okay, well, I'm sure Dave Rubin said we should probably play that clip where he has all these predictions wrong.
Regime.
Keep going here.
The
Dave
Iranian
Rubin.
theocratic regime. Why would you believe that they are doing right?
That's the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, appointed by Donald Trump. So explain to me why you don't believe her.
Listen,
these kids are annoying. I mean, look at this guy's expression and the eye rolling that he's doing here on Pride Month. This was a hate crime all the way around. You guys killed a gay guy just for who?
Marco Rubio.
Why don't you believe her?
Marco, hold on.
Why don't you believe the entire U.S. intelligence committee? Why do you think they're all lying?
So, are you saying that Donald Trump just ignored the entire U.S. intelligence community?
Yes,
no,
literally, that's what he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes.
That's okay. So that's an interesting disconnect that we have. I mean, Marco
Then why
Rubio.
do they contradict each other?
Marco Rubio very clearly laid out what was going on here. And by the way, Donald Trump and every president for the last 40 years has said that Iran will not get a nuclear bomb. Right? Every president has said that. Joe Biden said no. Remember, Kamala Harris said no or
the JCPOA
don't.
limited
Right?
it to a greater extent.
Okay.
Why didn't you address that point?
Again. You are going on the assumption that you can trust these random inspectors that are going the.
Okay, can't trust the inspectors. We're almost done here, folks. So hang in. I know you're enjoying this. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're not sure why. Tyler, are you playing these clips? I don't know. It's fun to watch Dave Rubin get destroyed. But it's also important to understand just because he's getting destroyed by people like this, and we could, these young kids or whatever, and these lefties, and we can enjoy him getting destroyed by what I think are actually his own kind. It's also important to understand that you don't have to agree with these people. You could take nuggets of agreement of some things they say, and you can enjoy the burning down of Dave Rubin, but it doesn't mean that you at all need to be in agreement with them, full stop.
The social capital of the Rubin report being larger in infrastructure is because...
It wasn't the Rubin report. It wasn't even the Rubin report.
You as an entity, Dave,
Yeah.
they want to legitimize you more in the eyes of the viewers that they are trying to capture. That is the point of why Russia paid you specifically. They don't do it out of the kindness of their hearts. They didn't do it because they're like, Dave seems like a good guy. They did it because Dave's politics is advocating for cheerleading for Donald Trump policies, regardless of any criticism. That is the point.
Where is the case?
What do you mean, where's the case?
Where's the case? Where's the case right now? Why am I even able to talk about it? Why don't I have a lawyer sitting here? Where's the case?
I'm not saying what you did was illegal in nature. I'm just saying that.
Well, hold on. There was a federal indictment. Wouldn't I be a little afraid to be talking about it right now?
I'm not, Dave. I'm not claiming.
Are they?
I started this conversation.
Is anyone in jail because of this?
You might not even have known about the Russian money. I'm not trying to cast that blame on you. I'm just saying it's interesting that your show is so ideologically aligned with what Russia wants for the United States that they are going to give you money to continue to do it. That is the point.
What is it that I do for Russia?
You suck Donald Trump's dick without criticizing any bad thing that he does.
All right. Yeah. So you know what? There is a risk right here, and this guy's point of view, it's a Russian collusion and all that stuff. And because he does talk to David Rubin about taking, Lauren Chin and taking some Russian funds, right? And there is the risk when you bitch and complain about foreign influence all the time that you're going to look kind of like this guy, in my opinion, of being like, okay, is Dave taking this money and that's why he's doing it? I think he's just not smart. So he'll take money from whomever and you'll probably say whatever. Is he actually, doing this because Russia? No, I think. And the point I'm getting at here is, okay, so be careful about always saying it's Jewish money and Israeli money. Yeah, there is that risk, but I think there's a lot more proof. We're not going to war for Russia right now, right? We're going to war for Israel. And let's keep going here. This guy did talk about. Let's see if I have. There's so many of these clips. Okay, let's go see what this nose ring.
I mean, I know you get your news from Grok, but
okay. So there we go. Dave, not interested in this girl.
I mean, I know you get your news from Grok, but this is a fact that is continuing to happen. So he promises to be America first, right? Yeah. He doesn't end the war in Israel. He starts a war in Iran while simultaneously defunding the VA, right? So he's sending people to go fight an unnecessary war while defunding the organization and the institution that helps those people. That's not America first at all. He promised he was going to drain the swamp, and then he puts Kash Patel in, who's drunk at work. Then he puts Pam Bondi in, who's numpty, right? She ain't doing shit. Then he puts Kristi Noem and her big booby boyfriend in, right? He didn't drain the swamp at all. He dumped raw sewage in the swamp. Like, he hasn't come through on any of his promises, and you continue to defend him. You are not accepting the reality that Trump failed his voters. I mean,
Okay. Some of those things are right. Some are not. Let's go here. But let's watch these stupid people snap their fingers because they don't know how to clap.
We're actually deporting U.S. citizens. We deported a 4-year-old kid with lung cancer. We deported a 10-year-old
You're talking
kid
about because the
with
father,
brain cancer.
If you're talking about because the father was...
They deported a 10-year-old kid with brain cancer.
But you're talking about because the father was illegal and they didn't want to break up the family, correct?
Was the kid an American citizen or not?
By the law of the United States, if the kid was born here by birthright citizenship, then he was. But are you saying
why are you deporting an American citizen?
Because they were deporting the father.
Why are you deporting? The reality is that the kid is an American citizen.
No.
Why are you deporting an American citizen?
Okay, this is a dumb argument, and I think Dave's probably right here. Which is, what are you gonna do? Okay, I think it was his 4-year-old. You're gonna let the 4-year-old stay on his own and then not go with. I mean, if I'm getting deported, I'm taking my kids. I don't care if that kid's a citizen or not. It's going with me.
Unless you're ignoring the material reality.
You want to separate the father from the child?
No, but if they're receiving medical treatment, life-saving medication in a first world country, granted one of the worst healthcare situations in a first world country, I think it'd be
I just want to make sure.
Call it a shithole country, okay? Let's be
honest. We're talking about the same case. So in this specific case, you grant that the father was illegal, right?
We're talking about multiple cases.
Right,
There's a 4-year-old kid with lung cancer, a 10-year-old kid with brain cancer.
The father was illegal, correct?
From my understanding, one of the parents was not documented.
Right. So they didn't want to break up the family. I don't think you would want to do that, and I wouldn't want
to do that.
Okay,
if they were acting in the best interest of the child, why were they withholding medication while they're in detention?
We got to pause here.
Again, the father was illegal. They didn't want to break.
Okay, I think Dave Rubin. Now this person is posting this. Is like disgusting. Progressive brutally confronts Dave Rubin on Surrounded Jubilee. He exposes the Trump administration for literally deporting American citizen children with cancer. Rubin desperately tries to defend Washington's horrific policies. Pure evil exposed. You know what? I give Dave Rubin a win on that one. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
I think he's also malicious.
One last to this a lot of people say screech here. This is Dustin Diamond arguing with Dave Rubin. Take it away.
Hold on. A lot of people say Trump is stupid, and I think he's a little dumb, but I think he's also malicious. Reality is what Donald Trump makes it, and a perfect example is his response to a tragedy. When Charlie Kirk was murdered, hours before there was even a suspect in custody, Donald Trump blamed half of the electorate. Nancy Mace said the Democrats own this. Van Orden said that it was the fake news media for peddling these radical points. You know what AOC said? This is a time that we need unity. This is a time we need to come together. We need to deal with political violence. Yeah. The Republican Party, MAGA, uses death as a cudgel to justify the unjustifiable. And that is denying reality. That's making reality whatever you want it to be. And people like you are corrupted enough to spew it all over social media.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll respond. Out of all the people, I have to say you're the worst, like by far.
Yeah, because you're having a lot of trouble responding to things I say. Yeah.
You honestly.
Okay, that's see, but this is why Dave only did bad because he was distracted, too nervous about his upcoming date with Lindsey Graham. This is worse than waterboarding. Yes, channels like Gray Zone are the actual Russian propaganda outlets, not Dave Rubin. LOL. They've done a breakdown in that, and I don't think that's. I think they've been debunked, but could be. I don't think that's true. One LPR gift membership and a bot took it. It looks like overturned birthright citizenship. Problem solved. Yeah, that's. I don't have a problem with that. This was somewhat frustrating for me. You're right, because waterboarding. It's Dave Rubin, and then it's these Dustin Diamond Screech types over here. Just maybe the most annoying ever. So that's a rough one to try to overcome. But you know what? That's why you gotta send your best. And the fact that Dave Rubin said he would actually go and do that, that's disturbing in itself, and probably shouldn't have happened. Now, here, let's take a look at this, and then we'll be done for the day. A mom and pop bake shop in Massachusetts made a custom South Park birthday cake over the weekend. An OFC Stop Anti-Semitism flagged this as anti-Semitic incident. So the OFC, the bakery rushed to issue an apology, and OFC wasn't good enough. I don't know what is OFC. It must be the Office of something or other. This will literally be documented as an anti-Semitic incident in the ADL anti-Semitism tracker. Yes, it is. Here it is. Not only did Sweet Stuff Bake Shop in Norton, MA agree to make Hitler birthday cake, they thought it was a good idea to advertise it on their social media. Yeah, okay, so who cares? Was it for you? Norton Bakery apologized for customer requested Hitler cake posted on Facebook. The Sweet Stuff Back Shop's cake featured South Park character Cartman dressed as Hitler alongside the words, "Hi, little Katie." Screenshot of the yeah, who cares? Was it for you? Were they selling it at the place? A Jewish resident of Norton who requested anonymity due to concerns of potential anti-Semitic backlash or harassment, you mean Karen work over there, said he found the cake offensive and disturbing. Well, don't fucking buy it, or it's not for you. It upset me that anti-Semitism and Nazi imagery are treated casually enough that a business owner would not see the problem with making a cake of that nature, let alone proudly displaying it on business social media page, he told Boston.com. Boston resident also said the bakery's subsequent apology did not feel like enough. Of course, it's never enough. I think the community deserved a more direct and serious apology. I mean, would I do that? No. Would I order that? No. But here we are. The Facebook comments are absolutely psychotic. Should we look at these? That was certainly a choice. Sometimes it's okay to say no, or sometimes it's okay to not worry about it, people. David says, I am very disappointed after giving my business for 4 years while my son was at Wheaton in Norton. Anyone with even the tiniest brain would have realized that this was an unacceptable thing to do. Very sad. And if you'd gotten the outrage, you would have thought nothing of it. Now, what's interesting is they're all upset about this, but someone wants to say, I don't want to bake a cake for you. You go to the Supreme Court. Oh, because it's Pride Day and you want me to bake a cake that says something that I disapprove of, right? Oh, you mean like Heil Hitler or Jim and John, happy marriage? What if you don't want that? Sorry, Jim and John you can do. You can't do a Heil Katie cake, okay? So just remember that. Just remember that, okay? The SS Bake Shop, yeah. How did they call that Cartman cake a Hitler cake? I agree. OFC, of course. Oh. But AOC, and it's time for a unity. That's how you know a lefty didn't kill Kirk, LOL. Thankfully, the left doesn't use death as a bludgeoning cudgel. Yeah, it's all bad. I think it's all bad, and I don't think the right has any. I think they like to do the scare tactics. and use that all the time. Oh, the left wants it. Yeah, but I do think on average, the left is more violent than the right, especially when you can, think that someone's just pure evil for how they are. I mean, like, look at the cake thing. Hey, make a cake. Well, they're defending Nazis. We'll just go kill them. I'm just making, stuff up here. I mean, not stuff up, but that's kind of the way things work. So the cake issue, not bad. Now we're going to end this with a little bit of a clip from one of the best shows ever. This is Norm on Cheers talking about headaches. Okay. And this is one of my favorite clips ever. I've talked about this for years, and I just found it, and it's exactly how I remembered it. So kudos for me, but here you go.
The headache still bothering you, Fridge?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. What do those things feel like, anyway?
You never had a headache, Norm?
I don't think so. How do you get one?
Well, it's a variety of reasons, usually stress or tension. Job-related anxieties, day-to-day pressures.
Come again?
It's like when you eat ice cream too fast.
Oh, I hate that.
There you go. Oh, I hate that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's the show for tonight. We will come back possibly Wednesday. Was it 5? Maybe Wednesday. Definitely try to get it on Friday because I'm going golfing on the weekend, Sunday. So I'll be Friday. I should be able to do it. Thanks. Don't forget, like, subscribe, TylerYonke.substack.com, all the good things. We will see you next time.
Okay, I'm leaving now.
But she's back.
And now.
Tyler, if you had any clout about you, if you had any knowledge of the real world,
none of us are screaming, "Let's kill Tyler."
Tyler says, "My Jewish princess."
You low-key, you're one of the funniest dudes in the Liberty world that I know.
More or less, eat shit and die.
He's just a podunk lawyer somewhere in rural California. He's an idiot, really.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
Do you see what he just did to Tyler?
I feel like you don't get the appreciation for your humorous wit.
What are you talking about? I didn't say that. Why don't you argue with something I said, you dumb bastard?